The Seahawks fell to the Tennessee Titans on Saturday night, 16-15. A bit of a heartbreaking loss as the Seahawks took the lead with 2 minutes to go with the Jason Myers field goal after electing not to go for it on 4th and 1. Then the Titans get the football back. Mason Rudolph leads a game-winning drive, setting up the field goal, and the Titans get it done 16-15. But here on our winners and losers tonight, we want to take a step further, read beyond just kind of the box score of what it tells you here this evening. Because to me, I don't think the score was indicative really of what we saw from the Seahawks on Saturday night. I think there were some guys that certainly deserve some recognition for the performance they put together. Let's start with Sam Howell. Sam Howell got the start. No Geno as the starters had the night off on Saturday. They were heavily involved in joint practices earlier in the week. So as a result, the starters of both teams did not play. We saw the second and third and fourth teamers for both squads, and Sam Howell was very good. 11 of 14, 153 yards, also had a touchdown through the air, also had 2 carries for 11 yards. Sam Howell, I think if you're a Seahawk fan, you can kind of breathe a sigh of relief because if you recall at the beginning of training camp, all the reports were that, hey, Sam Howell is struggling with accuracy. He isn't picking up this offense well. He looks like a deer in headlights. And then towards the end of training camp, he started to put it together. And now we've seen back-to-back very solid preseason games for Sam Howell. And if you need a reminder of how well he looks for his spot, you just have to look at P.J. Walker, and we'll talk more about him later. P.J. Walker has not played good the last 2 weeks, and there is a significant difference between the two. Sam Howell's not replacing Geno, but he's not losing his job either. He is the QB2, and he's shown he's more than capable of being the QB2, and that's just fine with me. Who's a winner from the Seahawks game against the Tennessee Titans? Whether it's Sam Howell or somebody else, weigh in the comments section. Give me a name that comes to mind that's a winner from the Seahawks' performance against Tennessee on Saturday night. Seahawks Today continues to bring you the best Seahawks coverage you won't find anywhere else as we bring you our daily news and rumors. We get our live shows during the week, watch parties for every game, Q&A mailbags. We're bringing you breaking news. It's all in one place. If you're a diehard Seahawks fan, this is the channel for you. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/SeahawksTV. Join the family of 12s. You'll be glad you did. Losers list. You knew this was coming. I had to start with Jason Myers. Second straight week, Jason Myers misses an extra point. I know they backed up the PAT a couple of years ago, but those PATs are still gimmies. There's no excuse to be missing PATs. And when you think about the outcome, look at that right there, right on your screen, 16-15. If Jason Myers makes that PAT, it's a tie. Remember, they don't play overtime in the NFL preseason. So Jason Myers, that one kick was the difference tonight, a missed PAT. That's disappointing, and that's 2 straight weeks. And as much as we like Jason Myers, he has been very inconsistent at times, and this is a bad start to the year when you're going 2 straight weeks missing PATs at this point. And he plays the most replaceable position on the football field, and he's paid a whole lot of money for his position, way too much to be shown the performance that he's had. The Titans got a kicker that's making 59-yard field goals from the logo that could have made it 10 yards even further out, could have made a 69-yard kick, and Jason Myers is missing PATs here. Come on. Back to the winners list. Kenny McIntosh, really good night for him. 8 carries, 46 yards. Also had 2 catches for 17 yards. He's showing that he's very capable of being that number 3 back, kind of separating himself from George Holani. I know Holani got some first-team reps in joint practices, but Kenny looks very solid. And what have we told you previously about what Ryan Grubb is looking for in the Seahawks offense when it comes to running backs? Guys that can catch, that can make an impact in the screen passing game, that can be legit third-down backs. That's what Kenny McIntosh can be. I've been very impressed. I like what I've seen from Kenny the last 2 weeks. And compared to what he was this time last year, he stayed healthy throughout this point. So good stuff from Kenny McIntosh there. Back to the losers list. P.J. Walker. This offense was lethargic with P.J. Walker under center. 4 of 8, 38 yards. Offensive line didn't really help him a whole lot either. They really struggled to protect him. But you can see there's a significant gap between him and Sam Howell when you separate these two quarterbacks. P.J. Walker, get ready to learn the practice squad, because if he's staying in Seattle, that's where he's going to be. And we've seen his numbers when he's got the chance to be a starter in the NFL have not been good. Completion percentage last year, less than 50%. PJ is just not a good quarterback. I loved watching PJ in the XFL, but he's not an NFL quarterback. He's a practice squad guy at best. So PJ, not his night. Sometimes it's not your night, but it hasn't been his night in either one of these preseason games. Who's a loser from Saturday's performance against Tennessee? Weigh in. Give me a name in the comments section. Who comes to mind that's a loser based on the ones we mentioned, or somebody else out there? Weigh in. Let us know. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. You choose two or more players on any given category. Get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking fantasy points in football, rebounds in basketball, home runs in baseball, goals in hockey, all sorts of different categories and different sports to choose from. On Saturday, I went with Kenny McIntosh to have more than 25.5 rushing yards. That hit. Had Justin Ross of the Chiefs to go with more than 17.5 receiving yards. Let's say I put $20 down, both those hit. That would turn into $60 on Prize Picks. Play along with me. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS for $100 deposit match on your first deposit. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Prize Picks, proud partner of Seahawks Today. Glad to have them on board here on today's show. Got to talk about Easop Winston Jr. Good night for him. And this is a guy that has been a practice squad player pretty much his entire time in Seattle. 3 catches, 47 yards, a touchdown, averaged about 15.7 yards a reception, long of 23 yards. Easop, he looks solid. That might be the best I've ever seen him in a Seahawks uniform. Really good night for him. I liked what I saw there. Back to the losers list. George Holani. And George Holani didn't do much. He only got 2 carries for 1. For 3 total yards. But it's not just so much that he didn't do much with his 2 carries, but also how much Kenny McIntosh separated himself. These guys are trying to compete for that RB3 spot. George Holani's trying to earn a spot on this 53-man roster. And as good as Kenny was, and as much as George really just didn't do anything, separation was made between these two. So that's where George Holani, the big reason why he's on that losers list tonight. Back to the winners list. Tyrice Knight, the rookie. Big question marks about, okay, is Tyrice Knight going to be good enough to be the number 3 linebacker? And he answered the call this evening. He was the green dot tonight. 8 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. He was all over the football field. He was making plays. I'm very optimistic. I know he's a project, but it was a step in the right direction. Mike Jackson didn't do a whole lot. 2 tackles. Coverage wasn't great from him tonight. But the other thing, too, think about this. He's trying to compete with Trey Brown to stay on this roster. And we talked about with some of these guys, the gap, right? The gap is widening. Trey Brown's had a great camp. He's been phenomenal. Mike Jackson, he's been banged up. It hasn't been around. That gap continues to widen. It's not looking good for Mike Jackson and his chances of sticking around here. What's your confidence level in Seattle right now? Scale it for me 1 through 10. How are you feeling about this team? I feel pretty good where the Seahawks stand right now. I got to go about a 7.5. What's your confidence level? Weigh in. Let us know. Last on our list, I'm going Derick Hall here. I could go with Ty Akata. I think he's another good choice, too. I think you could go with either one. Akata, of course, had that interception. He was very good. But I'm going to go with Derick Hall here because there was a lot of pressure on Derick Hall this offseason to try to prove himself, to try to win a spot in the rotation to play a significant role. And through 2 of these preseason games, he's shown that he's worthwhile, that he's taken steps in the right direction. 3 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Also had a QB hit. I think Derick Hall is finally progressing nicely. He's showing the coaches what they want. And then another running back, Kobe Lewis. Kobe Lewis, 4 carries, -1 yards. Kobe Lewis, his time's done. He's not making the 53-man roster. It's over for Kobe Lewis at this point. Thanks for joining us here on Seahawks Today. For continuing Seahawks coverage, subscribe now, youtube.com/SeahawksTV. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night. We'll see you next time.